Hello and welcome to It's Always Sunny and Bright in Hollywood. My name is Patty, and here we are spreading the holiday cheer with my two co-hosts. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am red and green drum arts because Christmas colors. Haha, hilarious.
And season's greetings. I'm Lugia. I'm an elf. That's the
When did
joke.
Hanukkah start this year? I just realized I never checked.
It starts the same day as Christmas this year. 25th.
Really?
That's what my calendar says.
No, you're right. It's just that's unusual because it always feels like Hanukkah starts before Christmas, but because this year it doesn't. Weird.
What about Kwanzaa?
Okay.
Do you know what day Kwanzaa starts?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I
Is
still don't know
that
what Kwanzaa is. Day after Christmas,
all
Boxing
right.
Day.
Is it always the day after Christmas, or does it vary?
I think it's always like
Because I remember briefly
yes. It
learning
looks
about
like it is.
Kwanzaa in like first grade, but then never again. Like I don't even think I know anybody who celebrates it. I could be wrong. It's never come up in conversation.
No, I can't say I know anyone who celebrates Kwanzaa.
I knew one guy, but in high school, but it looks like it's every December 26th to January 1st.
Well, I mean, we're no Kwanzaa experts, so take
Yeah,
everything
they
with a grain
haven't
of
made any
salt.
there's no Kwanzaa movies yet. We only know
No,
what we've seen in movies.
there's no Arthur Kwanzaa as far as I know.
There's a Rugrats Kwanzaa movie?
There is?
It's a
I just
special.
Googled Kwanzaa movie and the first result on YouTube is a Rugrats Kwanzaa 2001 television special.
I know there was a Hanukkah special. I think I knew there was a
I mean,
Kwanzaa
like
one.
I'm like 90% sure that the main characters of the Rugrats are Jewish, so it makes sense.
Anyway, Red, I believe you had something you wanted to bring to our attention before we actually jumped in.
Yes, so we talked about Albert Pyun not too long ago with Hong Kong. I forgot the number
90,
at the bell.
97.
Hong Kong 97. I think I mentioned this before in that episode, but he also directed a movie called Captain America in 1990. And it was really funny is movie infamously Albert Pyun did not get to show his true vision, and for some reason for his whole life he was super dedicated to like keeping his version of the film alive, because for some reason what happened is they edited 95% of the movie. Like the movie was 95% done, his version of it. And for some reason, even though it was 95% done, they decided to re-edit it and then release that instead, which is interesting. But because his thing was 95%, he was just sort of lugged around his copy for years. Like every time they moved, he would make sure he brought his copy, and apparently someone got their hands on the 35 millimeter scan, a man named Justin Duclos, and he streamed it on Twitch. I did not hear about it until after he streamed it, so unfortunately I missed it. From what I understand, he may be doing another stream one day, or he may release it so like regular people can watch it. If he doesn't, kind of a dick. But it's very weird to me that there's some people who have like these like exclusive like cuts. He got to see this guy's vision, and then he doesn't like share with. I don't know what the deal is behind like the fact that he streamed it on Twitch instead of just releasing it normally, but he did that. Apparently it's pretty good. So yeah, curious to see if the director's cut, I guess, ever surfaces. Now, if some of you people Google director's cut, there is already a director's cut. That's not the actual director's cut, or at least that's not what this cut is. So this was, I guess, his original cut, and Albert Pyun self-distributed another director's cut like a decade ago. This is the original cut before it was re-edited. And Pyun held on to this one print until his dying day, and yeah, it's complete. Music, special effects. Honestly, kind of bizarre. Like I feel like that doesn't happen. Like even the Snyder cut, which is like infamous, that movie wasn't like done. That was like 50% done or something. They needed to spend like another like $7 million to get like the effects good when they released that. So, but no, this one was just complete. So,
Didn't you guys say
anyway,
you saw the original version?
I have seen the original version. I don't know if anyone else
Lugia?
has.
No.
The original version is not good, to be clear. It's kind of hilarious, honestly. So the fact that I heard this is good is interesting because that like I guess it shows you how much like editing can really affect a movie.
So, let's talk Sonic for a second, because we're all Sonic guys. A few days ago, during the Game Awards, right in the middle of it, with no hesitation, Sega announced a brand new Sonic racing game called Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And the trailer they showed us didn't really tell us anything. It was just a CGI trailer of a garage opening, Shadow unlocking a car, and driving down the road into a portal. That's it. No screenshots of gameplay, no clue as to what exactly this game is going to be, other than the title.
Shadow left
from
his
what
extreme gear on the wall. The potential for another Riders game was there. He just felt like taking the car for a spin.
That I have heard, and I've also heard rumor this game might be taking some cues from All Stars Racing Transformed. Apparently, it's going to involve racing across land, sea, air, and space. So if that is the case, like, hell yeah, I am absolutely down for another Transformed like racing game.
Yeah, I loved Transformed back when that came out.
But based on the logo, this does seem like it's going to be taking at least like the engine from Team Sonic Racing, which was a good time. I do like Transformed more, but I am, again, from how vague this trailer is and from what is rumored about it, I am very curious to see what's going to happen. And this is the first like Sonic spin-off game we've gotten in a while. Like everything else has either been a re-release or a main series game. This is like a nice change of pace.
And speaking of the Game Awards, there's one thing that came out of it that I kind of want to address. So near the end of the presentation, we got a teaser trailer for a sequel to Okami, which I don't know if you guys know what Okami is.
I don't know what Okami is. Come on, man.
I know what it is.
Okay.
Of course, I
I've
know
never
what
played
Okami
it, but
is. Yeah.
I definitely know it.
So for people in the audience that don't know, Okami is you've probably like seen it around, maybe don't know the name, but it's that Zelda like game with the wolf that's like all painterly. It's kind of like it's kind of funny like now think about it, because like the GameCube had like the cell shaded Zelda and then the wolf Zelda, and this is like both. This is like a cell shaded
It
wolf.
plays like a 3D
Zelda.
Zelda game too.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mentioned. Like when I say Zelda, I mean like it plays like a Zelda game.
Right.
It is basically Capcom's take on a Zelda game, except Capcom was also making the portable Zelda games at the time. So really, Capcom has made a lot of Zelda games.
This and alongside a new Onimusha game was Capcom's way of saying that they're going to be bringing back dormant IPs, which I'm pretty stoked about. I don't know if you would consider Devil May Cry dormant, but I'd love to see a new entry in that series. But the reason why I bring up the Okami sequel specifically, aside from the fact that one of my friends has been getting me to play it and I've been enjoying it, is that on Twitter, a fan asked Hideki Kamiya, the director, if the trailer was AI generated, and you know what he said? Don't ask
You're getting
stupid
blocked.
Well, that too, but don't ask me stupid questions, you idiot. I think we're so back.
Yeah, that's all I heard about the Game Awards. I didn't watch it. I heard two things about the Game Awards. I heard that they're making a third Okami game, and Statler and Waldorf were there. I was like, what do you mean Statler and Waldorf were there?
The Muppets,
Like, yeah. They just had like the Muppets apparently heckle like some Kojima or something.
They addressed the parasocial relationship between Kojima and Jeff Keighley.
I thought that was cool because they're hilarious, and it's such a random like celebrity cameo. But if you're gonna have a celebrity cameo, might as well have it be that. Because I know there was like other celebrities there, and I was like, I don't know what that was about.
Well, they brought back Snoop Dogg.
Muppets 3D is closing. They got to heckle somewhere, so Game Awards it is.
I know Harrison Ford was there, and a lot of people do not think he was sober. Apparently, he praised Nolan North or something for his like portrayal of Indiana Jones, and everyone's like, "Wow, he must be out of it because he would never be cool with someone else playing Indiana Jones."
And Astrobot won Game of the Year, so congratulations to Astrobot.
Really?
Yeah.
That is kind of sad. Like, it's a good game, but like it's just kind of like sad that like, wow.
What were its competitors?
I think Hellblade 2, Silent Hill 2 remake, the Elden Ring DLC, which probably shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Yeah, like Astrobot
Metaphor.
deserved to win. Well, actually, maybe Metaphor deserved to win, but Astrobot is not a bad pick, but it just kind of like I feel like in no other year it would have won, which to me just kind of like makes it seem like this was a pretty lackluster year for games. Good year for music, but like I don't know. Last year was a decent year for games, but a bad year for music, so I guess I flipped around this year. But yeah, it's really weird how the PS5 has no games, and the one game it does have,
It won.
no, the one game it does have, it has a gimmick of going through PlayStation history. Like it feels weird to me because like rather than like a new movie getting like a new, how do I put this? It feels like if Ready Player One won the Oscar, that's what like it feels to me. Whereas like man, like even if it was like a good, like I don't even hate Ready Player One like other people do.
I don't know if it's gonna push
Uh,
sales for PS5s if like it's really expensive and there's almost no other reason to get a PS5.
I've joked before that it's called a PS5 because it has 5 games. What's really funny is like for the longest time that was like objectively true. Like
Halfway in
I
its
used
lifespan, yeah.
I used to check, and it was really funny. Is like, oh, wait, you got a new game, you can't do that joke anymore. It's like, yeah, but the second they got a new game, one of their games they had stopped being exclusive. So it was like, so no, it still has 5. It was like, it's really funny. I need like, yeah, I need a. I'm pulling up the list actually, just because I just want to see list of PlayStation 5 games. Yeah, this is such a small. It is both Astrobot games, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Ghost of Yatai, but that hasn't even released yet, so I don't think that counts. Demon's Soul, that's a remake, that doesn't count. Death Stranding 2, that hasn't come out yet, doesn't count. Okay, so Astrobot so far. Marvel's Wolf, that hasn't come out yet. This doesn't even look like a real game. Rise of the Ronin, okay, I guess I'll count that too. It has less games than like it had last time I checked. Oh my god.
Final Fantasy VII
It's evolving.
Remake.
It's backwards.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake was PS5, now it's coming to PC.
Final Fantasy VII used to be on the list. It's not here anymore because it's not like an exclusive anymore. Final Fantasy VII, sorry. Why is Ratchet and Clank 5 not in here? They used to be on here.
It's on PC
Is it
now.
not? Oh my fucking god! Oh my god! There's like 2 games on here. The rest is just stuff that hasn't come out yet. What?
And again, Sony said, we're already halfway through the PS5's lifespan, and this is all they have to show for it.
It's like, and the Demon's Soul remake it's like one of those remakes that's just like a beat for beat. Like you can just get the PS3 game or emulate the PS3 game. Like it's not, it plays the exact same. That's something. Want to talk about the movie? I guess Arthur Christmas.
Yeah. So let's get into the real meat and potatoes here. Arthur Christmas. This was the directorial debut of Sarah Smith and a collaboration between Aardman and Sony Pictures Animation.
Sarah Smith make anything else we know?
Her only
You
other
just said
directorial
you said
credit.
it was her debut, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, her only other directorial credit is Ron's Gone Wrong. I've not
Which
seen that movie.
Never
I haven't seen
that.
it, but I have seen reviews of it saying it's actually surprisingly good. So I guess Sarah Smith specializes in movies that no one expected, but people. Well, don't be funny.
But
Doug Walker really praises like Arthur Christmas is like a great like Christmas movie, and he's like this is going to be a classic one day. He also really liked Ron's Gone Wild, so it's really funny that like the critic that champions Sarah Smith is Doug Walker. He's like, you got to check out Sarah Smith's movies; they're all good, underrated, secret classics, hidden gems.
interesting because she didn't even start in animation. She started in like sketch comedy, I think, or at the very least live action comedy. So a little bit of the story of how we got to Arthur Christmas is that, well, in 2006, Aardman and DreamWorks split up due to creative differences after only 3 films together. And so they found a new home with Sony Pictures Animation. And they were in need of new film ideas, so Aardman tapped Sarah Smith to head the studio's feature department, which she took because she liked Aardman, but she didn't think it would really amount to much. She's just like, yeah, let's give it a shot, see what I can do. She was enticed to stay after a good friend of hers, Peter Bainham, pitched an idea of a Christmas movie that would give a plausible explanation for how Santa delivers everything in one night. And the more that the idea was developed, the more she was like, okay, I'm going to stay and direct this movie. And this is Aardman's second computer animated film after Flushed Away.
Which I
but
believe we
unlike
have also talked about on the
That's
show.
true.
Yes, I have.
We've
You're
only
welcome.
talked about the Aardman's CGI movies.
But unlike Flushed Away, which tried to replicate Aardman's claymation, Arthur Christmas does not. And I tried to find a reason for this, and the explanation's pretty simple. Sarah Smith just wanted the film to have a distinct visual style, as opposed to trying to copy a medium that it wasn't. And funny thing, she actually cited Ratatouille as a big inspiration for the film's visual style. So I find it interesting. This movie, the visuals of this movie were inspired by a computer animated rodent film from the mid 2000s, just not the one the studio made. A little fun fact to go back to the writing for a second. So at one point during the writing process, Peter Bainham suggested putting a villain in the story, which would have been an elf named General Antler, who, get this, his evil plan was to threaten to turn all the reindeer into burgers. This idea was shot down because it didn't fit. And you know, as I was watching Arthur Christmas, I was thinking to myself, this is great and all. Where's the burgers? Arthur Christmas released on 11/11/11 in the United Kingdom, but here in America we were not so lucky. We got it on 11/23/11. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but whatever. And it was very well received critically, but it wasn't a huge box office hit, only grossing $147.4 million against a budget of $100 million. So it did break even, but that's kind of about it. But in recent years, it has gained a significant following around Christmas time from, you know, reruns and DVD releases. So nowadays, it is very much considered a modern classic. So what is this Arthur Christmas all about? In this world, Santa isn't just a person, it's a family title, passed on from father to son for generations. And in order to keep up with the modern times, Santa has upgraded from a wooden sleigh, drawn by 9 reindeer, to a high-tech military aircraft. It's effective, it's efficient, and it runs on milk and cookies. It's perfect! Well, except for one Christmas night when one present, a bicycle, that's meant for a little girl in Trelew, goes undelivered by mistake. Most of the clauses see this as a slight blemish on an otherwise very successful mission, but Santa's youngest son, Arthur, is determined that this bike gets under that girl's tree no matter what. So he, his grandfather, and an elf from the wrapping division all set off on the old wooden sleigh to deliver the gift before the sun rises in Trelew. It's just the 3 of them, the reindeer, and absolutely no sense of direction and absolute chaos as they make the entire world think that an alien invasion has come to Christmas. So let's jump right into this. And actually, I want Lugia to start, because if memory serves, you said you hadn't seen this film before?
Correct.
What'd you think?
Okay, well, I don't really have much to say about the movie on the whole, but for what it was, I did enjoy it. I think my biggest takeaway was how they treated Santa Claus as a title rather than a person. So, like, every generation has a different Santa Claus. So, like, the current Santa Claus of this story is Malcolm, and he has 2 sons who, they don't really fight over the title, but it's clear it's supposed to go to one of them, Steve. But Malcolm is very stubborn about retiring and giving away the title of Santa Claus to somebody else. So I thought it was interesting how, like, Malcolm had to learn that his time is over and he needs to pass on the tradition to his son, which ends up being Arthur, but one step at a time here.
Yeah, I agree. I really like the ideology they have of what it means to be Santa. Like, is it the sleigh? Is it the efficiency of delivering the presents? Is it the suit? Like, they all have different ideas for what it means, but at the end of the day, Arthur thinks it's just about making somebody happy.
I've always been a fan of stories about someone becoming Santa because ironically, except like the most famous one, but I've always liked have you guys ever like watched the Twilight Zone?
No.
Okay, so this is
Not a
great.
Christmas episode, at least.
Okay, so there's this great Christmas episode of the Twilight Zone, and everyone always assumes the Twilight Zone is horror, but like no, the Twilight Zone is just really any high concept idea, and they're often have like kind of heartwarming magical things. But one of them was a man, basically a homeless, like not a homeless man, but like I don't know, I think he was homeless, I don't remember, but it's called like Night of the Meek or something. Basically this bum finds a magical bag that lets him pull out anything he wants, and what he decides to use it for is to basically be Santa. And then it kind of ends with like and it's like very heartwarming. You really see how much he just loves kind of making these people's day. And like I feel like the depiction here kind of like it reminds me of that almost. It taps into a similar thing. Same with like Ernest Saves Christmas. I don't know if you ever seen that. Again, I'm not mentioning like things that like people would know, but like they're kind of similar things of like trying to pass on the title to Santa, and like they all have like a similar idea, like this very like joyful kind of like idea of what's at the heart of it versus like efficiency. That's almost like basically what this movie's about, like, you know, getting the job done versus like actually like enjoying it.
Yeah, the passion
So-
behind it. I really like that because you can kind of see like where every character's coming from in a way.
It's like a similar thing to like almost like How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It's also like at the end is about it's more like about the spirit rather than the actual like material items. I kind of like how this one kind of like a benefit has sort of like a balance about like getting across like how important like the items really are, but also like that's also like not the important part. It's just like an important factor.
Like, it doesn't matter if it's delivered by the high-tech S1 or by, the old reindeer-drawn sleigh. Just the fact that the present gets there and the joy in the child's face, that's what it's really about. This is just the type of movie that, like, it just puts you in a good mood by the end of it.
Yeah, you're right. This is like a clever movie where like every character has like a good heart to them, but
They just have like their own ways of expressing it, and some of those ideologies
Yeah.
clash with each other.
There is no real
Yeah.
villain. It's just everybody wants something different, and
yeah.
they're
It almost kind of
frustrated
reminds
that
me
they
of
can't get it.
the guys like. Have you guys ever seen the Royal Tenenbaums?
No.
No.
It kind of reminds me of that because that's a Wes Anderson movie about a family. Okay, I guess Fantastic Mr. Fox is also that, but like, it kind of reminds me of that almost. I mean, I know like Fantastic Mr. Fox had like an antagonist, but like the Royal Tenenbaums didn't. But like that was a similar thing. Where it was more of like just like a family drama. I've really liked the Malcolm character just because like I feel like his character is like the most like interesting one to me because like, I feel like the other ones like they're an archetype. You get it. Like you get like Arthur's whole deal is like, oh, just ball of joy or whatever. You get like the serious brother. You got like the grandpa's a little bit kooky. I like how like Jim Broadbent is almost like he's like a guy who's like slowly suffering from dementia, but he doesn't realize it yet. And like I don't know, there's just something interesting to me about that. Like him kind of like because like his sort of journey is like sort of like is more focusing on him like kind of accepting that he has to like let go.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's also kind of like he always just had this
Who
idea.
am
It's like,
I
oh,
if
of
I'm
course
not
he's gonna go
Santa?
to and yeah, and all he never really thought about giving it up. But I also like how like he never thought about giving it up. He also knew that like eventually if it was gonna happen, it was gonna be Steve. So it's kind of interesting seeing him like once he realizes that he is gonna have to give it up, him having to actually like sit down and think about like what it means to be this, and him realizing that Arthur actually represents what he thinks is important more. Not that Steve isn't important, but we didn't talk about Grandson. Grandson is hilarious. I fucking died laughing.
He nearly started
because
World War III.
the whole bit with Grand Santa is like he's like, oh, back in my day, and then he would just say something really fucked up.
Yeah, he mentioned something about the
Like, you have
Cuban
this
Missile
amnesia
Crisis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he nearly started
What?
World War III because he didn't know the Cuban Missile Crisis was happening.
My favorite joke is when it's like, oh, you with your fancy amnesia spray. I don't know. I'm doing a Scottish accent. I don't think he had that, but it's like, you with your fancy amnesia spray. What we used to do is we just smack the kid and then give him some whiskey and he'll forget about it the next morning. I was like, that shit
Love
had me
that.
fucking dying.
Love that. I also love when Arthur like finally gets back in the Christmas spirit after being out of it for a bit, and he's like, "Oh boy, I've seen this before. Spirit of Christmas sends somebody going crazy. This happened to one Santa. He gave every child a sausage nailed to a piece of bark for Christmas." The movie's damn funny.
I also like how it's like a classic road trip movie, which surprisingly, I can't believe I've never seen a road trip movie with Santa before because that feels like such an obvious fucking idea because like there are so many Christmas road trip movies and Santa travels around the world. It's like, huh, that's kind of like weird that I've never really seen that before.
Actually, you're right. Yeah, I can't think of any.
Like
I
the
don't know
only
if you
one
would
I can think-
count the Polar Express, but that
No,
well,
because
Santa's
not
not
really,
a part of
that's-
that until the end.
it's not really like the whole thing with like road trip movies is like you're trying to get to a destination, there's a bunch of obstacles. Polar Express works more in like dream logic. This one like just kind of feels like a National Lampoon like vacation movie. The only road trip Christmas thing I can think of that isn't this is the Family Guy episode of Road to the North Pole, because that's about, but even that one's like different because like that's about Stewie and Brian traveling to the North Pole, and then once they get to the North Pole, they take over for Santa because Santa's like stressed out, and then they fail horribly, kind of like Jack Skellington. That's a great episode, by the way. That's like unrelated, but that's generally one of my favorite Family Guy episodes.
To speak back on Arthur Christmas, I love how at each destination they go to, somehow they manage to lose a reindeer. To the point where they're only like at 2. One of them's a fake one.
It kind of reminds me of like
And then one time, they think they made it to their destination only to end up in Mexico.
They technically did make
Uh,
it to Trelu, just not the right one. To go back to the characters, I know we highlighted Grand Santa as like a favorite, but upon rewatching it, I found I really liked Bryony the elf that tags along with them. Like for one, she's like her rapping abilities like are great. Like I love how she silences a burglar alarm by wrapping it in multiple layers.
to be clear to the audience, when we say rapping, we mean rapping a present. We don't mean she was rapping like hip hop.
I said she wrapped 3 layers. How do you verbally wrap 3 layers of something?
I don't know. Have you ever listened to an Outkast album?
No.
That dude can do some crazy shit.
The scene where they end up in the wrong trailer, I think, really highlights what I love about Bryony because, like, she silences the burglar alarm with 3 different levels of rapping, and she's asking Arthur like what she wants him to do because he's technically in charge. He's a Claus, she's an elf, and she keeps saying, "Would you like me to go into the doggy door? Would you like me to unlock the door for you? Yes, please. You got it, sir." And when they actually walk into the house, Arthur realizes he's never actually delivered a gift personally before, and she reaches her hand out to take him into the living room. Like, my heart.
Yeah, I mentioned the grandpa's really funny. I actually I like his little arc there with like how he just because like that's kind of a thing because like we're seeing like Malcolm sort of like get rid of learning to let go. You know, the fact that like he's not the first generation was really interesting to me because like we're seeing a Santa who did have to let go and he's lived like 136 years, so like he has to see so many generations, like things changing. So like very much like kind of like it's kind of funny how he almost kind of like lost kind of the spirit of Christmas almost because he's just like wants to prove that he can still like do it. It's like kind of an interesting kind of like midlife. Well, I guess not midlife crisis. I don't know how long he lives. Maybe it's a midlife crisis. Who knows? I thought the arcs were pretty interesting. Again, like even like in a typical movie, Steve would probably be like the antagonist, but he wasn't here. His arc was, I guess, like pretty standard. I feel like pretty much everyone was able to like get it, but I don't know. I thought like the two older Santas was like really interesting to me. Their arcs. Arthur's a great character.
Let me ask you guys a question. Have either of you heard of or seen Disney's Prep and Landing?
No, I've never
Never
seen
even heard of
that.
that. The hell's Prep and
You ever
Land?
heard of
Prep
Prep?
and
Prep and Landing is two made-for-TV Christmas movies by Disney. They're computer animated. I bring it up because I've often heard Arthur Christmas brought up as a comparison to it.
Yeah, I'm googling it, and it's basically about elves that are like spies. So yeah, I get the comparison.
I recently watched both of them for the first time. I'd heard of them, I never saw them before. They're actually more similar to Arthur Christmas than I was expecting. Like, obviously, like the spy stuff, you could draw some parallels to. But even in Prep and Landing, at least the first one, the conflict is about one of the elves believing he's worthy of a promotion, but not getting it, and kind of just fucking around on Christmas night, ruining it for everybody until he realizes, wait, no, it's about happiness. Let me do it for the kids. And at the end
A
of the
fourth-
movie, one of the kids gets a bike. I'm like, oh, like more similar than I was expecting.
Did
Like
they
they're not
know?
one to one.
Looks like there's a fourth Prep and Landing short coming out next year. Interesting.
I was surprised. I did enjoy both of them more than I expected to. I will say I do like Arthur Christmas a lot more, just because I think the heart of Arthur Christmas is a lot more impactful. It's funnier. Prep and Landing has some pretty good jokes, but I don't know, Arthur Christmas just hits a sweet spot much more. So that's my recommendation. If you like Arthur Christmas, check out Prep and Landing.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Actually, yeah. There's one aspect of this movie we completely overlooked.
What?
The whole thing with the aliens.
Oh yeah, it was pretty funny. I think it added to the movie's humor with everybody thinking like the craft in the sky is or the sleigh is just a spaceship because adults don't believe in Santa.
It's a pretty natural extension of the whole like what if Santa was in the real world? And I was like, yeah, I think people probably would think.
Well,
it's a
not to
Christmas
mention
invasion.
that the elves and Santa have like an actual spacecraft, so that wouldn't be too hard to believe if they did see it.
Wait, are you referring to the space, the S1, or the world thinking that the sleigh is a spaceship?
Both. But yeah, I did like this overall. Again, I don't have a whole lot to say on it, but I did enjoy it. I'll probably watch this like every couple of years.
I'd say so. This is definitely a Christmas classic in my book.
Yeah. Well, speaking of movies that people rewatch every year, I decided I would give for next episode. I would give a normal Christmas recommendation because if we look at what all my previous recommendations, it was like it's all stuff that like no one's heard about. Some French movie, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. No one knows that. No one knows
Hey, it's
what
fine. It's
The
fine. This is the
Apartment
first year
is.
I've kind of recommended a normal-ish Christmas movie. Everything else has been like
Tokyo
Christmas
Godfathers,
adjacent.
no one's ever heard of. Yeah, so usually I do like foreign films or really old films. I decided I'm going to
Luby is the
go.
only one of us who actually does straight up Christmas movies.
Yeah. So I decided this year I am going to do the most straightforward Christmas movie you could ever possibly pick.
Grandma got run over by a reindeer.
But I can't like give up. Like I'm still gonna do a weird one. So it just so happens that the most famous Christmas movie of all time, the director made another Christmas movie, which is really funny because this movie is also really, really popular. It's also really popular for a completely different reason. So we are gonna be talking about Bob Clark's two Christmas classics, A Christmas Story, and the slasher movie Black Christmas.
Huh. Oh, okay.
Same directors. No one like it's really funny to me that like this guy and he made these like very close to each other too because like no, 10 years. Yeah, Black Christmas was 74, A Christmas Story was 83.
Interesting double feature.
And if I'm by the way, I think I mentioned this, but I recommended two because we're taking a break. If you want to know what I would have picked if we weren't taking a break, it would have been Home Alone. Also, this is probably not the first time we're going to be talking about A Christmas Story because did you know there are several sequels to it?
I know there's two. There's
Well, here's the
Christmas Story
thing.
2 and Christmas Story Christmas.
Those are the bad ones that no one talks about. I mean that the guy who wrote the original Christmas Story made another movie about the family. It doesn't take place on Christmas. It's just another movie about the family. It takes place in summer. There's a summer
called?
one. Our Summer Story or something. Apparently it's really good. And like
A
no one ever
Summer
talks about
Story.
it though, because it is or maybe it's My Summer Story. My Summer Story. That's what it's called. That's Charles Grodin and Kieran Culkin. What the hell? We're not talking about this, by the way. I just want to like throw that out there because I know a lot of people don't know about it. So yeah, there is a sequel to the Christmas Story written by the guy who wrote the original Christmas Story that's apparently really good, but no one knows about because it didn't have a Christmas story in the title because it takes place in the summer.
Again, a summer
Um,
story.
Yeah, it's called My Summer Story. Well, actually, here's the thing. My Summer Story is what it got retitled to. It was originally called It Runs in the Family. So no one had any idea. Like I'm imagining like a guy just watching it because I was like, oh, this looks like a fun, like, family comedy. And then like halfway through, he's like, wait a second, Ralphie, fucking he's like Ralphie, Mr. Parker. I mean, it's like Ralphie, the old man. That narrator sounds really familiar. Wait a second.
This is just lemonade flavored Christmas story.
I wouldn't recommend tasting it though.
I was also thinking about recommending Radio Days because Radio Days is pretty similar to A Christmas Story, except it's Jewish.
Well, a Hanukkah story.
I have no idea if it actually has anything to do with Hanukkah. It's just very Jewish.
All right, so up next, Bob Clark's Black Christmas and also Bob Clark's A Christmas Story. Tune in next time for more holiday festivities. This has been It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Bambi, on John, on you with the white ear, on you and you as well. Dash away, dash away, dash away all!